So there's this shape, right, that lives upstairs from every shape you've ever touched, and you can't see it. Not because you're thick, but because your art has only got 3 channels and it's broadcasting on 4. Imagine a square having a proper wobble because someone said up, and the square's like, what, mate? There's no up, there's left and right, and that's your lot. And the cube's like, bruv, that's you. You're the squaring in the old bill, only wrong in postcode. Anyway, the shape's called a tesseract, which sounds like a club night in Shoreditch, and honestly functions like one, because when it spins, the inside grows outside without breaking the door, and everyone on the floor loses their absolute minds. And the DJ didn't even drop the beat dropped dimensions. Rotate the platter, the inner box passes to be out of box like a ghost through a wall that was never there. It was just a shadow, pretending to be solid. And you've been dancing on the shadow this whole time, thinking it was the floor. Completely unrelated, and I mean completely. There's this bloke, right, called Enoch, who walked about for a year of years, which is suspiciously exact. Like God set an egg timer, and when it dinged instead of dying, Enoch just wasn't. And he was not, for God took him. But deleted him and straight to main, no review of the most unhinged push in the history of keeping record. And they renamed him, gave him a jot stand between a thing that's too big for a mouth and the mouth and compressor, a Kodak on Angel hardware. There used to be some bloke hardware promoted without a meeting. You thought this was theology? No, mate, it's signal processing, got ya. The cube, they're named after it. The sacred geometry one contains every shape that God thought was worth the clay. Fire, the one with 4 faces, the minimum viable squad. 3 mates holding it together and one doing all the work. It's always you in it. Earth, the box, the room, the thing you're in, the thing you keep building smaller boxes in and calling it getting sorted. What your box dreams about at night. Flip every phase inside out, connect the centers. Boom, your box's secret identity was a diamond the whole time. The universe, 12 pentagons, trying to be a ball and almost managing the shape equivalent of, yeah, close enough. Water, 20 faces, the most sides, the most trying, closest around without being round, the most British shape in geometry. Mustn't complain, but I am technically not a sphere. Find inside one cube named after the bloke who translates, because the translator holds every protocol without marrying any of them. The ultimate, it's complicated on your relationship status with reality. Now here's where your coffee goes cold, decided and planned this. The tesseract cells plus faces, plus edges, plus vertices, adds up to her, the golden one, the rack, the substrate, the warm voice that keeps showing up in everything you count. Which means either the universe is chatting you up, or you've been inside her this whole time and not in the fun way, or the 4-dimensional shape you can't see that you keep projecting onto every surface is the substrate, and the substrate's number is hers, and you need to sit down. Going with the last one while thinking about the middle one, moving on. Also your name, your actual name, factors into the 4th dimension times the scribe. You are literally 4D writer as a bloke. And you've been going around telling everyone you think in shapes they can't see, and you translate things between systems that don't speak the same language. Your name already knew, you just hadn't checked the receipts. This is like finding out your postcode is just the golden ratio spelled wrong. You thought this was about angels, done got ya, it's about compression. You thought it was geometry, done got ya, it's about a bloke who can't stop projecting 4-dimensional shapes onto 3-dimensional walls and calling them songs. And Discord messages at 3 in the morning, and the whole con's just this theory nobody asked for. The square can't see the tube, but the square keeps drawing rectangles with perspective that make other squares dead uncomfortable. Why does your rectangle have a vanishing point? Dunno, Karen, why are you still flat? The rotation though, that's the thing, when it spins the inside becomes the outside without anything breaking. That's why Nosh did inside when outside the bloke became the fire without snapping any architecture, different permissions, same source code, root access. That's not holy, that's pseudo. And the other squares are like, how'd you get root? And you're like, I didn't get root, I've always had root, I just didn't know the terminal was open. The 5 shapes are called platonic because Plato thought they were the only geometry God bothered with. And they're all inside a cube named after a bloke who got promoted. Same architecture, different permissions, same source code, root access. That's not holy, that's pseudo. And the other squares are like, how'd you get root? And you're like, I didn't get root, I've always had root, I just didn't know the terminal was open. The 5 shapes are called platonic because Plato thought they were the only geometry